Yo, what's happening YouTube? It's your boy Bolo, and I'm coming to you with another video for educational purposes only. And I was going through this channel called It's Complicated, and he goes around asking very interesting questions to, I want to say, mostly women, but sometimes men also. And it's always a very interesting dialogue. And I got about a minute and a half into this video and thought it was interesting enough to cover and react to. So let's go ahead and do that.
That's a man who kisses a woman who's unconscious.
Oh yeah, so it's about consent. That's what this video is about. It's about consent and basically about how a lot of women have conflicting views on the subject, where outwardly they'll express that they want someone to ask them, but then when you get to the real nitty-gritty of it, they want men to take charge. And any man that's kind of had experience with women know that's the case already. The only ones that buy their bullshit, you know, what they talk about, are guys that don't have much experience or are not confident in themselves. If you make a move and she says no, it's okay. And you back off, and that's it. You don't keep pushing. If she's like, hey, look, I'm not with that, you let it go. But make the move. Make the move. Don't feel bad if you get rejected, and don't feel like you did anything wrong if you happen to just not get it right. You're allowed to do that. Just don't keep pressing on.
To be awake.
Okay, all right. What determines what should and should not be spontaneous during sex?
Consent. Literally, like, just asking for consent all the time.
How retarded is that? Imagine just every step of the way, every little move you make, sitting there like, honey, is okay if I give you a little smack on the booty? Just do it, bruh. Just do it. If she don't like it, she'll be like, yo, chill, don't do that. Or I don't like that. And then you don't do it again. Only things that are dangerous, like choking, shit like that, you only do that. Well, I mean, I wouldn't do it regardless, but if you're willing to do that, make sure she asks you to do it. But little things like a slap on the booty, you know what I'm saying? Like, just do it, bruh.
Okay, so every time a guy like puts his hands somewhere, he needs to ask permission for it?
Exactly. See, she kind of realized how stupid she sounded and was like, all right, let me rethink this.
Or just ask if you're comfortable with it.
Yeah, it's all about...
Are you comfortable with me, you know, putting my hands on your waist or something like that?
And checking in. I think that checking in, you don't necessarily have to ask every single time, but just checking in and making sure that the person is comfortable with what's going on is like a really big deal.
These are young, brainwashed girls. That's what they are. This is the most... You have to be stupid to like actually think this would play out in real life to any extent. You're in the heat of the moment and you're just constantly like, oh my God, is that okay? That feel good? Are you okay? Are you comfortable with this? Dude, that ruins the moment. And they'll tell you that.
Establish ground rules. There's nothing wrong. Communication is key.
Right. Okay, if a guy's gonna perform anal sex, does he need to have a pre-production meeting about it?
Yes.
I would agree.
Okay. And
that is not something you just
you don't just do that. You don't, fellas, don't just do that. Don't just stick it in there. I don't care how horny you are. You don't just do that.
Sorry, babe, wrong hole.
How often do you think about your poop?
One time
Some people think
that
about
happened more than once. But like I, kind of slipped out and I went in or tried to, and it went the wrong hole. I felt bad about that.
About your health?
Putting in the butthole. Okay. That should not be spontaneous.
Yeah, you gotta ask.
That should be consensual.
Yeah, you gotta ask. You gotta make sure, like, hey, babe, I kind of want to do. Like, I'm not a booty hole person, but if you are, you gotta ask.
Like, some girls don't like it in like, you know, their anus. So like, you should not just be like, okay, let me put it in your butt. No, you gotta ask. Like, are you okay with anal sex?
Yeah.
If you're not okay with it, then you can't do it.
Agreed. That's a whole different monster, man. You don't just decide to throw it in there.
is consent something that can be withdrawn once it's given?
Yes, I think so. I don't know. Maybe not.
But I feel like if someone comes in and is like, yeah, let's do this, but then halfway, like, they're getting into it and they haven't done it yet, and they're like, oh wait, I'm not sure about this. I think you can, at any point, stop. Like, once you start, you shouldn't be forced to, like,
keep going. But it's also like, as like someone else, like if you gave consent first, it's like, you should have known, like you should have really thought about it, or else.
I agree with both, actually. The one on the right I agree with a lot more. The one on the left, technically, yeah, you should be able to at any point in the act say no. But how reasonable is it? I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like, you should expect the guy to not go on at that point. But how reasonable is it? And how irresponsible are you for actually starting something that you weren't totally sure that you wanted to get into, you know, to begin with? So I agree that, yeah, if you say, hey, look, I'm not comfortable with this any longer, even though we're in the middle of it, they should get off. But you really have to make decisions that you're comfortable with. You don't just do this half-heartedly, because you could, like, now this guy's DNA and all this other stuff is on you, where you could actually just pin some crazy shit on him. And even though he got off at that moment, the damage is done if you wanted to do something. So you can't just, you can't just do stuff like that.
It's like, why'd you give consent? Like, it's kind of like, oh, why did you stop? I guess, kind of thing.
Just to play devil's advocate, you know, if it's something that can be withdrawn, what would be the point of asking permission in the first place?
I think, yeah, that's valid.
Yeah,
I think
no
it shouldn't just be a lightweight question at the end of the day.
I'm curious also, what if the guy decided in the middle of it, I don't want to do this anymore? I wonder how they would feel and how they would react. It's very easy for them, or at least the girl on the left, to say, yeah, you should be able to just cut it off in the middle and, you know, that's just what it is. I wonder if she was really into it and the guy just pulled out and said, you know what, this isn't for me. I wonder how well she would take that. I wonder if she would be like, oh, okay, no problem. She'd fucking be pissed. You can bet your last dollar.
When you're with a guy, like, you might think of him in one way, like maybe at the beginning of the night, and you can be more comfortable with him, and then as the night progresses, maybe there's red flags that come up. And
so the red flags they came up while you were having sex? Is that what you're trying to tell me? Young, brainwashed, super feminist. You can tell these two, especially this one. The red flags came during sex, not before. It wasn't like, oh wow, he just said some crazy shit, I was so ready to get in the bed with this guy. No, it's penis inside you, the red flags popped up. Bullshit.
maybe you change your mind, and that's completely fine, but that would mean that consent would be withdrawn. And if you're going to say, like, I'm not comfortable anymore, then consent's not given anymore.
But I actually do agree with you. I think that it is something that should be able to be withdrawn.
Exactly.
But here's my question. Is there a difference between withdrawing consent during and after the act?
Yes. I think if you're doing it after the act, like after it's all done, you'd be like, oh, I didn't give consent, but you actually did. I think that's where the issues occur. Like, I think if you're in the middle of it, you can withdraw. But after you finish the act, I feel like you can't say, like...
Yeah, that's more regret.
That's 100% regret, exactly. The girl on the right seems to be a lot more level-headed and just more logical, you know, speaking. The one on the left's not too bad because, like I said, you should be able to, while you're doing it, rescind your consent. You should be able to do that, but it's one, irresponsible, and it's just, you're not a very well thought out individual at all.
It's not even like, oh, I didn't give consent. That's regret. Like, oh crap, I did it and didn't want to, type thing.
A lot of us girls are nervous to withdraw consent, so we kind of just let things happen. I don't think that it's okay either way. I mean, I think that, like, you know, if they're withdrawing consent, like, whatever the guy is doing is not okay. if the woman is uncomfortable, whether or not she said anything.
You got to stay away from girls like this, man. This right here, this line of thinking, this way of thinking is very, very dangerous. 1. 2, is irresponsible. 3, you're not thinking. And not, dude, I can't, this right here blows my mind.
Like, whatever the guy is doing is not okay either way. If the woman is uncomfortable, whether or not she says it.
So at that point, she could be moaning to get it over with. And you're thinking that she's enjoying it, but you are doing something wrong and you don't even know it. I guarantee you this girl will also talk about how communication is key. Guaranteed.
If a guy gives you an engagement ring and he calls off the engagement, should you give the ring back?
No, hell no. It's my ring.
Okay, so why is it if a man withdraws consent to an engagement, he loses the ring?
She didn't even realize she stepped into that booby trap. She just, boop, your foot's gone. Yo, I just want to catch that moment of silence again. That was really good. I enjoyed that.
Give the ring back.
No, hell no. It's my ring.
Okay, so why is it if a man withdraws consent to an engagement, he loses the ring?
I mean, I don't think women are objects like rings.
See, they always go to that. They always go to that. Well, it's not. Explain how the concept. We're dealing in concepts. How is the concept different? This guy spent probably 3 to 4 months pay, because that's what they say you should pay, something like that. I think they say it's like a fourth of your yearly salary or a third, some shit like that. Why you can't give him back that property that he paid for? Why can't you give it back? You see, like, oh man, the disconnect.
I would say he loses the ring, but you lost the value of that woman.
Okay. If marriage is supposed to be an equal partnership, why does a woman get an expensive engagement ring but a man doesn't?
I mean, I'm sure they could, but I don't think most of them want it.
No, this is the thing. Women want they want the wedding, not the marriage. Okay? Like, the only reason we do the whole wedding is to please them. It's not for us. We don't give a shit. We would walk down an aisle and just buy a marriage certificate and be done with it. They're the ones that want the wedding, and then they'll be the ones to break it off. I mean, honestly, guys, you just need to stop following their lead. That's the problem.
I mean, they get a ring. It's just not really as
What if a guy
expensive.
wanted like a $20,000 motorcycle?
I mean, I guess it's all between you and your partner. I spoil my men.
Lies. Lies.
If a man consents to sex, does that mean he's consenting to potentially becoming a father?
Well, if he was...
That's a very good question. I'm very curious to see how they react to this.
Well, if he was smart, he would use all the protection and not... he would do everything in his power to not be the father.
Right.
I think if it happens, it's a consequence of him making the decision of having sex.
Okay. If a woman consents to sex, does that mean she's consenting to potentially becoming a mother?
See, I like how he's very well thought out how he asked the questions, because if he would have asked this in reverse, the woman probably would have known what was coming next and had her answers, her ducks in a row, you know? Because, you know, she wants to tell him that she doesn't consent to being a mother with sex. But because she already answered yes with the previous question, now she's put into a very difficult position. If he would have asked the other way around, she could have said, oh, no, the guy isn't all either. And, you know, she would have given some bullshit answer. But now she has to kind of come face to face with what he knew was going to be a hypocritical answer. Very well done.
I think it's the same thing.
Yeah, I think,
like,
yeah.
If you're doing it, there's a risk of it.
Yeah.
If you take every precaution, you can.
You can tell the way, how long it took her to answer it, it hurts her to say this. It hurts her to say this because I guarantee if you go through probably the one on the left, if you go through some of her social media feeds, she's talking about my body, my choice, and all this other bullshit. You know it. You know it. Because she thinks it's okay, and it is technically, but she thinks it's like, you know, perfectly fine to just take back or to take back your consent in the middle of it, in the, you know, when you know the guy's all into it, ready to go, and all of a sudden you're just like, no, take it out of me and leave. So this is a, yeah, very well, good, like, yeah, well done, bro.
Whatever happens, happens.
So why is the man often blamed for getting a woman pregnant, aka knocking her up, when it actually takes two people?
Homegirl on the left is in pain right now. She is in agony having to deal with this, and it's all because of the order in which he asked the questions, where he made her basically dig her own grave with these questions, because she put out answers that had a certain logic and you know what I'm saying, to it. So now she has to stay consistent to that logic, even though she doesn't want to.
I think it's just another stereotype.
Yeah,
like,
I agree.
That, yeah. Like,
It hurts her to say it.
Don't women ultimately get to decide who has sex and who gets born?
True.
It hurts.
Essentially, yeah, I could agree with that.
Are there any decisions more important than those two? Don't those choices determine the future of civilization?
Homegirl on the left is in agony. Like she knows it's true, but it pains her to say it's true.
Yeah.
And doesn't great power come with great responsibility?
Yes.
So wouldn't you say that there's a lot of responsibility on the woman when it comes to those issues?
Yes,
I would say so,
I
yeah.
think responsibility goes both ways.
Okay, that's fair. If two drunk people meet and have drunk sex, how do you know who took advantage of who if neither one could offer responsible consent?
It's not consenting on either. Yeah. Neither party was able to.
Homegirl on the right, man. She's stumbling. She's stumbling because you know what she wants to say. Basically, in the minds of a lot of these females and these feminists, and in the eyes of the law, women are children, effectively. They have no power over the decisions they make. If we are both drunk, if she wasn't on camera right now, she would talk about how the guy was in the wrong. 1000% sure. I can tell by the way she's been talking this whole time, she wants to put the blame on the guy. The guy should, one, not get drunk. He should be able to control himself. And two, he should make decisions for the woman, for her own best interest also.
Soberly consent. So therefore, whatever happens, and that's
Unfortunately,
unfortunately,
aren't most sexual encounters happening under drunken conditions?
Yeah.
So that's kind of a problem, right?
Yeah.
I want him to ask her, could you charge a guy with a crime if they were both equally intoxicated and both equally incapable of making logical and sound decisions? That's what he needs to ask her.
Yourself in a situation where you choose to drink, where you get so drunk, where you hook up with someone and you don't remember anything and then try to accuse it as being rape, that is not right.
See, homegirl on the left, the way she's saying it, I believe she believes this. And she's 100% on the money. But unfortunately, in the eyes of the law and the eyes of public opinion, women are treated as children. They are incapable of making their own decisions. Whatever they do, no matter how wrong, how egregious of an act, it's not really their fault. Someone else should have stepped in. Somebody else should have done this or that. They are very rarely have their feet held to the fire.
That's why you should always have friends around you.
Exactly. You should
People
never
you
do
trust
it.
Agreed.
Around you.
And always have a DD. Always.
And I agree with that. Some people, accept that responsibility, and some people call that victim blaming. So it just depends on,
Yeah.
I don't agree with that.
Victim blaming is definitely, yeah.
You can't really point fingers in that situation.
Yeah.
Okay, but who's typically blamed in that situation?
The man.
Oh man. Yeah.
Okay.
See the one on the left, she seems a little bit more reasonable here. I think she actually does believe this, but we'll see.
Fair?
No.
Not really, no.
Okay,
not at all.
so why aren't false accusations taken more seriously when there's plenty of scenarios where it's not necessarily just the man's fault?
I think because society sees men as very masculine
Yeah.
over women, so they see always them as taking advantage, but I think that's just another stereotype, another trend that's always seen as like the man being the stronger or dominant.
Not just stronger and dominant, but more capable mentally. This is what I find to be like kind of ironic, is that they always talk about how women are more mature, they mature faster, and they're, as far as thinking, they're just, ahead of the curve against the boys. Boys are more irresponsible. But when it comes to a situation like this, all responsibility goes to the man. The immature, dumb man. The one, we're supposed to be the big dumb idiots. But for some reason, they're like, it's all on you. You're the one that's supposed to make sure that nothing happens wrong here.
The differences between the stereotypical nice guy and the stereotypical bad boy.
The stereotypical nice guy is like, he always gets ignored.
And he's boring, which is probably the biggest thing.
And he gets swept under the rug, and he's just like, he's the I asked for a hug type of person. And the bad boy, like, he gets bitches, and
he opens the car door, but he expects something though.
Okay. Why do you think we have the expression nice guys finish last?
Because a lot of people like overlook their, like, if you have a friend and he's like so sweet to you and you might not think that he is your would like go for him like that, then you might just like look over him, oh, he's just a friend, but really he's the person who would like always like treat you the way you wanted to be treated. Okay. Even if they're like kind of a pushover a little bit. I think women definitely like dominance.
Yep. Don't be a pushover. That's what I was talking about in my other video. You can be a good guy, but you cannot be a nice guy. Being a nice guy is the worst thing you could be.
Okay. Well, what do women find attractive about a bad boy?
The dominance. Yeah. That might come with like emotional abuse and like stuff like that, but like a lot of women like to be dominated.
Bad boys are just bad boys. They're hot. I don't know.
Okay. Why do we have the expression nice guys finish last?
Probably because they take too long, like to secure the bag, I guess, secure the girl. But with bad boys, they're just like, I want this, that's it.
Okay. And what do women find attractive about a bad boy?
You know, like gang stuff. Like I don't know. Like just like having a good time.
Having a good time, not being bored. The excitement. Like I was saying in my other video, it's all about excitement. Good or bad. They would rather have a lot of bad things happen in their lives than nothing happen in their lives. Believe it. It sounds crazy because guys, we would rather, if we had to choose between a lot of crazy shit happening that's bad in our lives and coming home and playing some video games every day, we're gonna take the video games every day. But unfortunately, a lot of females will take the fucked up stuff happening in their lives day after day after day and have nothing to talk about.
Not really worried about any of the stupid shit.
How do bad boys treat women?
Bad boys treat women bad, I guess.
So why is that good?
It's not good. I guess it's just fun.
So what?
It's fun. You see? Getting treated bad is fun because it's not boring. Like I said in my other video, boredom is the woman's biggest downfall along with jealousy. Like guys, our biggest weakness is women. Women will make us do the craziest shit. There's so many guys dead or in jail over women. That's our weakness in general. And a woman's weakness is boredom and jealousy. They cannot stand being bored.
What is the difference between withdrawing consent and regretting sex?
Damn, see, girl on the right. She's got to come to terms with some of her thinking now.
Withdrawing consent, you're probably just not comfortable. It just wasn't for you. Like, depending on the situation, if you were having sex with someone in the middle of it, you want to stop, it's probably because you're uncomfortable. The man should not continue, and if he does, well, then that's not right. After, I mean, if you regret it, then you regret it.
What the fuck are you talking about? This whole whale-ass motherfucker.
We have nights that are just like, ugh, like I regret hanging out with that guy. Like maybe I don't regret what specifically happened, but like, I wish it didn't happen.
Do you think we're headed towards needing consent contracts for sex?
I don't think it's gotten that bad. I mean, my gosh.
I feel like that takes out all the spontaneousness.
Yeah, thanks.
Or even like, no one's gonna be like, come sign my contract.
Yeah.
Right, it does definitely take a lot of the romance out of it. But believe it or not, they've actually come out with apps for consent. consenting after.
See, they want to talk about how how the spontaneity and all the magic is gone, but they're not realizing, because they're not the ones that's gonna get put into jail over some bullshit. So I mean, obviously, I could see this happening, especially with like the younger generations, like 20, probably like early 20s and lower. I could totally see that being a thing, because it's a lot more extreme. In my generation, I don't have to worry as much about that. You know what I'm saying? Because women are more often operating off of what I am. Like, we're just gonna do it, and if they're not feeling it, they push back and say, "Yo, I'm not with this," and I say, "Okay, my bad," and that's it, and life goes on. But with the younger generations, a lot of times you're not even allowed to make that mistake. You're not even allowed to read the situation wrong, because sometimes, you know, more often than not, you probably know what she's feeling. She's giving you signals, but sometimes there might have been a misunderstanding as far as body language goes. And that's enough for a lot of these kids to get, you know, thrown out of school just for reading the situation wrong. Not even pushing on after she says no, but just that initial no is enough to get you in trouble.
I think it does
but also, if you did sign one, would you still be able to withdraw consent? Because then you'd kind of be like, you know, it's in writing, you know what I mean?
That's a good question, actually. That does kind of muddy things up, because she should still be able to say, look, I'm not in this. I'm not into it. Your dick's too small or your dick's too big. I'm not with this. But she already signed it. Should she be forced to do it? Obviously not. That's crazy.
Yeah, you gotta read the small font. If the paper says like you can't withdraw once you sign, then.
And my question is also, you know, if you could withdraw consent after you sign a contract,
what's the point of contract?
Why are we still using contracts?
That's valid.
That's true.
Yeah, agreed.
I mean, how else would it be possible to hold anyone accountable?
Exactly.
I agree.
So.
I think that at the end of the day, we need more education on consent.
You mean indoctrination? That's what you mean. When these people talk about education, they're talking about indoctrination.
Don't think that there's a lot of funding in that, and I think that men and women and everyone,
she wants to say men. That's why she just threw in women there to like not sound as ignorant or as man-hating, because you could tell she does not like men.
Whatever you identify with, I think that everyone needs to be more.
I guarantee this girl's social media feed is full of wage gap bullshit and, you know, a whole bunch of grape statistics and all kinds of weird shit about how men suck. Guaranteed.
Informed on consent.
I personally think all sexual encounters should be filmed and sent to me for verification.
Yeah, okay, well, that was very interesting. He's it's a very good channel, and I like the way that he sets up his interviewees with the questions, because he does it in a very deliberate way. Not for an I gotcha moment. It doesn't feel like a I gotcha moment, but it feels more of a moment for them to be more introspective and think about their own thought process and how it could be inconsistent. You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of times people just aren't pressed on what they think and how they think. They just usually have their own little groups. They all circle jerk each other's thoughts and say, yeah, you're right, and yeah, this person sucks, and blah, blah, blah. And they're very rarely met with, hey, you're wrong here, or maybe what I thought isn't right this whole time. So I like the way that he asked the questions to his interviewees. But yeah, let me know what you think about the video, man. He did a very good job, in my opinion, where the girls had to kind of come to terms with certain things and face certain realities that they either didn't acknowledge or kind of knew were wrong but never outwardly expressed it. But yeah, let me know what you think in the comments below. Like, comment, subscribe if you feel I'm worth it. If not, have a good day anyway. Peace.